Okay, so today we're going to listen to some pretty raw audio
Okay.
um, from a football match
All right.
and kind of try to just using the audio commentary, see if we can figure out what happened.
Yeah, like a detective.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
listening to it. We
Yeah.
don't have the visuals, so it's just what we can pick up from the sounds.
Right.
And that in itself, I think, is a really fascinating thing for the listener to consider as well, is how much you can glean just from listening to something.
Right, exactly. And, we've got the crowd noise in the background. We can hear the sounds of the match as
Yeah,
well.
and you hear those kicks.
Yeah, exactly. So we can tell when something's happening, but we're going to have to really listen closely to what the commentator's telling us.
Yeah, and thinking about how we often watch the game with all the visuals and all the replays
Right.
to just strip all that away and have to really focus.
Yeah, just listen.
Yeah.
Okay, so right away we hear some names being mentioned. We've got Pulik, that's probably Pulisic,
Sounds like it.
and Depay, McKenna, Timber, all very early on. So it sounds like those guys are already in the thick of things.
Yeah, it gives us a clue right away about who the key players might be.
Yeah, who to listen out for.
Who to listen out for. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so there's a description of Depay getting inside McKenna. A cross floated towards Timber, and then Pulisic with an overlapping run, and they get a corner.
Oh, nice.
And the commentator actually says, es un buen desafío acelerar, which means that's a good challenge to accelerate.
So already a sense of like that attacking intent early on,
Yeah.
pushing forward.
Exactly, yeah, trying to get ahead early on.
Yeah, and that early pressure, I mean, it's so important in a game like this to try to get that early advantage.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Put the other team on the back foot.
Right.
Okay, so then we hear about a deflected shot from Pulisic, so Pulisic again, following across. Then there's something about De Jong Dunn and Dung Bent, but it's a little bit unclear what exactly is happening there.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of detail there.
Not much to go on. But then what we do get is this description of a cuidadosa entrega dirigida para Ferrer al borde del penalti área.
Okay.
So a careful pass directed towards Ferrer on the edge of the penalty area.
Right.
And then Anthony Robinson sends in what's described as a pequeña bola de clip towards Dickinson.
Interesting.
So that's a little clipped ball.
Yeah, I mean, even in the language that he's using,
Yeah.
it kind of hints at the style of the pass, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
That first one, a careful delivery. It
Yeah.
sounds like a more deliberate kind of measured pass, whereas this one, a little click ball.
Yeah, maybe a bit more hurried.
Yeah, hopeful.
Yeah, exactly. And then he talks about Ferrer's attempt and the ball going back into a gran area, so a large area.
Okay.
So it sounds like they're having quite a sustained period of pressure here.
Yeah, a series of attacks.
Yeah.
Not necessarily leading to a clear-cut chance, but definitely putting that defense under pressure.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so then we get to a really big moment, and you can tell because the commentator just explodes.
Oh, here we go.
He goes, Memphis Depay arrasa en los Países Bajos enfrente. Su primer ataque real del juego, pero es real calidad puesta en el plato para Memphis Depay.
Wow.
And we hear this surge of applause.
The crowd goes
Y
wild.
él goes, ¿qué, Steve? Este es uno de los mejores.
Yeah.
Los goles que verás en el fútbol realmente.
So he's clearly impressed.
Yeah, that's high praise.
Yeah, that's as good as it gets, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's really making a point of how good this goal is.
When a commentator uses that kind of language, you
Yeah.
know it's special.
Absolutely.
It's something to really pay attention to.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so he breaks it down a little bit. He talks about bellamente incisiva pasando. So beautifully incisive passing.
Lovely.
And he describes Depay's movement. Él simplemente retrocede aquí. Depay se acerca a ello. So he just drifts back here. Depay comes onto it.
Oh, very clever.
Yeah. And then the quality of the finish.
Mm.
So it wasn't just a fluke. It was a really well-taken goal.
Right, he had the time and space to really pick his spot.
Yeah, exactly.
And when a player of Depay's quality
Yeah.
gets that kind of opportunity,
Yeah. You know he's going to bury it.
more often than not, yeah.
Yeah, so he goes on to say, terreno maravilloso, la forma en que acaban atravesó a este equipo de IE, que presionó realmente bien. La calidad pasa en el rabo. En el medio lo está tirando hacia atrás en el último.
Okay.
So it sounds like a fantastic team move, slicing right through the opposition's press, even though the U.S. team was presionó realmente bien, pressing really well.
Interesting. So they were doing the right things defensively,
Yeah.
but the quality of the attack was just too much for them in that moment.
Yeah, they were just outclassed.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. He also mentions Zimmerman being trabajando, working hard, and Kenny executing his part brilliantly.
Okay.
So it wasn't just Depay. It's a really well-worked team goal.
Yeah, a combination of factors.
Yeah.
The movement, the passing,
Yeah, all coming together.
and that clinical finish.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so moving on, we then hear Pulisic una ruta para Zimmerman. So Pulisic with a run at Zimmerman. And this kind of understated comment, bueno, vamos a lidiar con eso. So we'll deal with that.
Almost like they're not too worried.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell exactly what he means, but it doesn't sound like a moment of panic.
Right, like they feel they can handle it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Then there's this description of Robinson's cross as ese escritorio fizzle con el cruzar para correr con el despeje.
Oh, wow.
So that's a pretty vivid image, a fizzing cross that forces a clearance.
I like that.
You can almost picture it, can't you?
Yeah, like a real sense of pace on that ball.
Yeah, yeah. And he also gives us a little bit of information about the formation. He says, con tres en el no del medio. Uno está ahí. Memphis Depay está en el medio. Buen cambio de ritmo, signo destino.
Okay.
So we get a sense of how they're lined up in attack.
So Depay central, as we kind of suspected
Yeah.
from earlier, and then players around him ready to support.
Exactly. Okay, and then another really big moment this time, just before halftime, Daley Blind makes it 2-0. And you can hear it in the commentator's voice. 2 soldados segundos antes del descanso. El United, los corazones de los estados, son roto de Libby con un terminar con su papá Danny, que es el asistente gerente, entre los que celebran el objetivo. Qué lindo momento para la familia. Qué gran momento para los holandeses. Liderar a Estados Unidos por 2-0.
Oh, wow. Double whammy right before the half.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a psychological blow.
Yeah, that's tough to come back from.
And to add insult to injury, his dad is the assistant manager.
Oh, what a moment for them.
Yeah, you can just imagine the celebrations.
Yeah, must be so proud.
Okay, so he then explains how it happened. Y ahora, un largo camino de regreso. Para ellos lo es.
Oh.
Y es este lado derecho de nuevo. Dumfries simplemente devuelve la pelota hacia el borde del área y Pletz simplemente llega a hoyo de nuevo y está en cambios hoyos y una horquilla delantera doble en el medio.
Bravo.
Otra vez.
Okay.
So Dumfries, again, involved in the build-up, delivering the ball back into a dangerous area, and Blind was there to finish it off.
Yeah, he seems to have a knack for being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and he also mentions, no fue exactamente el pase que se busca el pequeño movimiento de la entrega, McKennie lo golpea y queda bloqueado por no tirar. So it sounds like the initial pass wasn't perfect, but Blind was alert and reacted quickly.
Yeah, sometimes you need a little bit of luck,
Yeah,
but you also need to be ready to capitalize on those moments.
absolutely, yeah. Okay, so moving into the second half, we hear about Memphis Depay having another shot on goal.
Mm-hmm.
But this time, Turner makes the save.
Good.
Yeah, and the commentator goes, buena pelota, buena para Pato Turner. Le negará el punto a Memphis Depay y Blanco. Alcanza reacciones súper rápidas de ambos. Depay para conseguir el toque y luego Turner al lado de Greg Bohola.
Hizo un tiro.
So a really good save then.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Kept him in the game,
Yeah, maybe a turning point.
potentially.
Okay, so then we hear about a jugador plus 6 disparó al borde del área. Él lo quiere. Aquí está. Y son las celebraciones. Rusia hace 4 años. Mucho impulso hacia adelante, pelota una final.
Interesting.
Or a reference to Russia 4 years ago.
Yeah, what do you think that means? I'm not sure, but it sounds like maybe a similar moment in another big game.
Yeah, like a flashback to another crucial moment.
Yeah, maybe a penalty or something.
Could be.
And he talks about a lot of forward momentum, a final ball. So it sounds like a moment of real pressure.
Yeah, and the shot leads to a corner kick.
Right.
So they're still pushing for that goal.
Yeah, definitely not giving up.
Okay.
And then they get one back. Puli bueno, saldares, ¿no?
¿Él es inmersión?
Él fue una decente cabeza. Muy buena cabeza para él, donde salió Van Puric con la entrega. Estaban problemas. Kade Otegidis. Taka no puede quedarse 5 en el medio. En la red están de vuelta en el lado. El juego en el que Kaji Wright podría haber conseguido el primer toque es 2:15 minutos para jugar.
Right.
So it sounds like a headed goal from Kaji Wright,
Right.
making it 2-1 with just 15 minutes left.
Okay, so it's game on again.
Yeah, absolutely anything could happen now.
Yeah, 15 minutes is a long time in football.
Right. And the commentator was a bit unsure about the name at first.
Yeah, he said something about Pooley and then corrected himself.
Yeah, but it definitely sounds like Kaji Wright.
Okay.
And he talks about decente cabeza, a decent header,
Yeah.
and muy buena cabeza, a very good header. So it sounds like it was well placed.
Yeah, a good finish.
Yeah. And he talks about Van Pulik's delivery causing problems, so maybe a dangerous cross,
Right.
and Wright getting ahead of Dries.
So a well-timed run into the box?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And it turns out the build-up to the goal was pretty important, too. The commentator says, bueno, Steve, este nos lleva de nuevo a Yedlin. Y este es prácticamente su primer toque. Míralo aquí, él solo enebra eso. Pasa la pelota.
Hmm. So Yedlin comes on as a sub,
Yeah.
and with practically his first touch, he creates a goal-scoring opportunity.
Yeah, a threaded pass.
Wow, that's the impact you want from a substitute.
Absolutely. Yeah. Change the game.
Yeah, come on, make a difference.
Okay, so the Dutch weren't just going to sit back, though. We hear about Depay in the middle again,
Of course.
and Gaga Bergman persiguiendo aquí. So still a threat going forward. And then this whole sequence of events, Zimmerman being bellamente despedido, so maybe beaten by a good skill, Gappo driving a shot low, and Turner making a brillante double salvata, a brilliant double save.
Wow.
So some desperate defending there.
Yeah, it sounds like they were hanging on a bit.
Yeah, and then a Dutch corner, and then it gets a bit confusing. He mentioned Blanco Rayner, Carlos Memphis Depay, and Steven Berg, all in quick succession, and it's not clear who had the shot or what the angle was.
Okay, so just a really frantic period of play then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Both teams throwing everything at it.
Yeah, end-to-end stuff.
Exactly.
And then comes the moment that seals the deal.
Yeah. The final goal.
And it's blind again.
Yeah, Brace.
So he's had a great game.
Yeah, the commentator says, portero dispuesto a jugar con pulia esa entrega, no con un Robinson Little desvío en ese centro, pero Pikic impulsado hacia adelante y Clint con un centro cuidadoso y hacia la red de Daniel Dumfries. Y eso seguramente lo ganaré. Estaban ausentes sin permiso en la publicación posterior y Denzel Dumfries, que ha estado absolutamente brillante. Aquí los Países Bajos vuelven a entrar en 2 goles y Lideraren, y son los 2 más efectivos jugadores de este equipo holandés. Y simplemente tomar una mirada a esta pelota y la calidad de Lent. Él sabe dónde quiere. El objetivo es Hay Dumfries con su brazo en el aire, poste trasero y en tierra. Es calidad absoluta, quiero decir. Eso es lo que viene con el pie izquierdo. Lo golpeé en el barco, pero se merece esa suerte de esa manera. Él ha interpretado a Wonderful Dio finalizar 3-1. Y los holandeses se dirigen al AEL el viernes y un mundial.
Wow.
So that's 3-1 to the Netherlands then.
And they deserved it by the sounds of it.
Yeah. I mean, Dumfries and Blind were just too good.
Yeah, he really makes a point of praising them.
Yeah, and you can hear it in his voice, the disappointment for the U.S.
And the elation for the Dutch.
Yeah, it's almost like we're there in the stadium with him.
Yeah, exactly. Feeling the emotion.
Yeah, the raw passion of the game.
Okay, so then things take a bit of a turn.
Okay.
The music starts to play, and we hear a different voice saying, Mohammed Dice.
Hmm.
And then some more music and some lyrics that definitely aren't about football.
Interesting.
So it sounds like we've come to the end of the match commentary.
Yeah, like the recording has just moved on to something else.
Yeah, maybe a post-game show or something?
Could be, or just a completely different program.
Yeah, who knows?
But it's a sharp contrast to the intensity of the game you're just listening to.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of funny, actually.
Yeah, a bit jarring.
So yeah, that was quite a journey.
It was.
And we figured out a lot just from listening to the audio.
We did.
You know, we identified the key players, the big moments, the turning points.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
who would have thought you could get so much detail just from the commentary?
I know, it's amazing.
And it really makes you think about other audio sources.
Yeah.
that we might have lying around.
Yeah, old voicemails.
Yeah, recordings.
You know, maybe even just everyday conversations.
Exactly. And if we listen closely enough,
Yeah.
there might be more to them than we realize.
Yeah. Hidden stories waiting to be discovered.
Absolutely. I think that's a great note to end on.
Yeah, thanks for joining me.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.
See you later.